Hi guys, so this is actually a 3-part video. This is part 3 of said video. This is my August wrap-up. If you guys have not yet seen parts 1 and parts 2, I would suggest pausing this one and go checking those out. They'll be linked down below. I mean, you can watch this one by itself if you want, if you don't mind coming in a third away of the video, but hey, you do you. Anyways, guys, this is the last part, and I hope you enjoy my August wrap-up. Next, let's talk about a book that I read that I don't own. So, Netherland Bone. I read Netherland Bone. You guys, this book is so cute. It's so cute. So it's basically like a dark fairy tale, or like kind of like a grim fairy tale. So it's told in the sense of like how fairy tales are told, but like modernized, but yet it still takes place in like a world that you would expect a fairy tale to take place in. I don't really know how to describe it other than that. Like, that might not make sense, but if you read it, you'll get it. Like, it's so good. It's about this girl who basically, she's just kind of your average everyday person. Oh, one thing I really loved about this book was the main character was not one of those characters that's like thinks of themselves as lowly and not attractive and blah and not good at anything, but in reality they're so beautiful and they're so talented and blah blah blah. That wasn't the main character. She was just an average girl, and she was just an average girl. Like, you know, that's what it was. And I really like that about this book. The main character like is in her 30s, which was awesome. So it's more like older characters. It's not teenagers doing this stuff. I really enjoyed it. The premise of this book is basically this princess. She's a princess, and her 2 older sisters have been sent away to be married off to this prince in order to kind of secure alliances with their kingdom. But the prince is not a good dude. And so the princess, she is kind of been living at a convent because reasons. And she decides that she's going to take it upon herself to save her sister, who is basically being abused and who is like, she's really not having a good time with this guy. And she's like, I am going to save you. So she sets out on this journey and meets up with a dust witch, which is basically someone, or a bone witch. Dust witch? Dust. I think it's dust witch, who basically is someone that can talk to the dead or control the dead or whatever. And so she's given these 3 impossible tasks that she has to complete to be able to go on this quest. So this is kind of like her on this journey on like trying to get these things done. But during her journey of doing this, she, like the dust witch, has a chicken who is possessed by a demon. So like, in one scene, there's like the shadow of or something. There's a chicken, and there's like the shadow, and the shadow is like of a demon figure. And one of the characters is like, "Oh, you meant she actually is possessed by a demon? I thought you just meant that she's just a mean chicken," or something like that. And she's like, "No, I wouldn't lie about something like that." It was so funny, you guys. And this chicken would like rode on her like the dust wife's like staff or her shoulder, and it would go into the bag like once a day and lay an egg and come back out. And it was just like, it was so funny. Like, there's so much humor in this book, but like in a way that's like, it's not overtly funny. Like, it's not like ha ha ha, this is a laugh out loud slapstick comedy. It was just like, these characters themselves are just funny. Like, funny things just happen with these characters. And so you have a bone dog, which was great. I really loved the descriptions of this dog and how they interacted with them. You deal with like the goblin market, and you have a disgraced knight who is like comes along as another companion with them. And it was so much fun. Like I said, I really love the fact that the main character she's kind of like, she's not ugly, but she's not like drop dead gorgeous either. She's just kind of your average woman. You know, there's nothing spectacular about her in looks, in talent, in anything. She's just is who she is, and that's okay. Like, she didn't need to be anything more. I really liked that about this book a lot. The characters, again, like I said, were older, so it felt more mature, but also fun in a way. Like, it's more realistic because you're not like, it's not like 16-year-olds or 15-year-olds taking this impossible journey. Like, it's grown adults. Yeah, it does, though. I would say trigger warnings for this book, definitely domestic abuse and miscarriages. So, and miscarriage and like infant death. So just be aware of that if that is something that you deal with. You know, make sure you check into that before you read this. But I recommend this book to anyone who really likes fairy tales, who likes fantasy. It just was a fresh, like, it's almost like a retelling, but it's not a retelling because it's a brand new story, but it was like almost told in that way. You know, it's like a fresh new fairy tale, and it was really, really good. I really liked it. I did not rate it a 5-star. I don't know, it just wasn't, I don't know why, it just wasn't necessarily like the best book ever I've ever read, but it was so good, it was so cute. I really enjoyed this. And you have kind of just like, the main character is a bit awkward, you know, like I kind of saw myself in the main character because she's like, I'm nothing special. I just really love my sister and I'm going to save her whatever it takes. I really did enjoy that about this story. Like I said, the chicken was funny. You come across like a fairy godmother and it's so much fun. Like there's some little things that happen here and kind of the nods to classic fairy tales. Like it talks about like it kind of references Sleeping Beauty a little bit about, you know, the godmother that wasn't invited to the christening or whatever. And I don't know, and like a tooth fairy or something. It kind of talks about that. It was really, really fun. But yeah, that's Netherland Bone. It's really short too. I think it's like under 300 pages. I read it on an audiobook, but yeah, it was a good time. Now for a book that I'm not too happy with. My Summer Darlings. I did a whole rant review on this, you guys. So I will make sure to post that very, very soon if you guys are interested. It's spoilery, so just know that if you're interested in reading this book. I was disappointed in this. I was really disappointed with this. I gave this a 2.5 star. It's so beautiful though, like this cover, I don't know what, like this is not my aesthetic. Like can you guys tell this is not my aesthetic? But I really, really enjoyed it. I love this cover for some reason. It's just so fun. This gave me hardcore Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampire vibes without the vampire. So if you read that, you may kind of get a gist of what this is about. The main premise of this book is there are these friends, like these three best friends that have been together or that have been friends since like childhood. One of them had moved away. This takes place in a small town in northern Texas. One of the friends was living in like Dallas or something like that, and she comes back after her husband cheated on her, and she's trying to like restart her life with her son. They're all middle-aged women. They all have teenage children, and they're all dealing with crap. Which, like, none of that bothers me. That is fine. I don't mind reading about characters like that. Most of them are kind of unlikable characters. There's definitely toxic friendship in this book, which is not my favorite thing, but not necessarily something I dislike either, you know? This book did have some pretty, for what I have read in thrillers, I mean, romance, this might not be raunchy at all, but like, for a thriller, it had a kind of explicit sex scenes, and I was a bit not okay with that. Again, that's my personal preference. I do not like to read about sexual stuff in my books. You also deal with cheating in this book. You deal with alcoholism in this book. You deal with backstabbing and betrayal and toxic friendships and disrespectful children to parent relationship, like warped parent-children relationship. Yeah, and the ending, I felt like this book was at a really good pace through the whole book. Like the pacing was really well done until you get to the very end, like the climax, and it was just like all of a sudden it was like bleh, and it happened, and I was like, oh, what? And I did not like the twist in this book. Like the whole it's something that I very much am against, and I don't like the fact that the author used that, even though in the book the thing that the twist is bad, right? I don't like the fact that that was used. That's just, again, personal preference. I know there are people that absolutely love this book, and that's fine. This is just me, my opinion. And I, you know, as someone that does read a lot of thrillers, I just wasn't impressed, unfortunately. Like I said, I just didn't really like where the story went. The end was not my favorite. It felt very rushed. It felt very, I don't know. And like I said, I can't say what it is without completely spoiling the book. But the twist at the end, I was not okay. Like, it just kind of grossed me out, to be honest. But yeah, it's about these three lifelong friends, and then this new guy comes to town, and basically everyone loses their crap and stuff goes haywire. Backstabbing, betrayal, alcoholism, like I said. Things get crazy. This says manipulation, obsession, and murder. And so like the new guy, you start out, it's multi-POV, which I do like that. I do like multi-POV. But you start out with like the new guy driving by, and one of the characters, the single one, mind you, sees him and like instantly feels connected with him. Then the problem is her two friends who are married see him and instantly feel connected with him too. And it's this whole thing of like they're all trying to get this dude, and they're all like backstabbing and cheating, and weird stuff is happening, and this guy is a little bit off, but you don't know why he's off. You know, it's definitely, I think though, if you were probably like in your mid to late 40s, you might connect with the characters better. I mean, I don't know about connect with them, but it definitely had like Desperate Housewife vibes to it, of they're kind of, you know, getting older, and like their kids are in high school and graduating, and they're just like, what do I do with my life? Like, where is my life going? What is my marriage? Questioning their life decisions, questioning who they are, you know, all that kind of stuff. So again, if you're older, you might enjoy that better. I don't know. I mean, I'm in my early 30s, so hard to say. I'm not in that place in my life. But yeah, just some like really, like I said, it really gave me vibes of Southern Book Club's Guide to Vampire Slaying by Grady Hendrix. If you've read that book, you may kind of know that there's like a new guy that comes to town, and weird things start happening, or people start getting a little like woo, you know, about this dude, and are willing to lie and cheat and backstab and all that. So again, some of the things I didn't like. I'm not a big fan of the fact of alcoholism. It doesn't bother me that people drink. I just like when it's excessive, like it is in here. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way. All of the nastiness between the women, the cheating, the sexual stuff, it didn't fit for me, you know, which is unfortunate because I really love this cover. But yeah, if you're curious about, like, if you're not planning on reading this book, or you have read this book and you want to know my like real thoughts, like these aren't real thoughts, but like my in-depth, like in the moment thoughts, because I was steaming over this thing. I'll go ahead and post that. I will make sure to link it in the description down below when I post it. Hopefully it'll be very, very soon. But yeah, you guys can go watch that and see what I really thought about this book, because it made me very angry. I'm just gonna say that. Guys, I realized as I was editing my videos, there's two books actually that I had totally forgotten about to talk about. So here I am to talk about those books, because, you know, this video isn't long enough. So the first one I read was Rolling in the Deep by Mira Grant, aka Shauna Maguire. Oh my gosh, I love this book so much. I loved it so much. This is the prequel to Fear the Drowning Deep by, again, Mira Grant. I have not read that one yet though, so I'm like, man, I probably should have read that one first. But you know what? I don't care. This book was so good. This is a tiny little novella, short story, I guess a novella prequel, basically about killer mermaids. And I was just enthralled. I loved it so much. I actually did a standalone review about this book, so I'm not going to talk much more about it here. If you guys are interested in seeing my thoughts and more about what it's about, check that out. Basically, it's just about, if you know anything about Fear the Drowning Deep, this ship goes on this expedition to find out what happened to this film crew who's trying to film a documentary about mermaids, and the entire crew just disappeared, like completely vanished into thin air. And this is the prequel and tells you about what actually happened to the crew. And it was so good, and it reminded me so much of Discovery Channel's like mockumentaries they used to do back in the day, or not Discovery but Animal Planet, and when they had the mermaid one, I loved it. So anyways, I think I rated this I know I rated this a 5-star. Honestly, it's definitely probably one of my favorites of the year. Like, it's definitely making top 10 if not top 5, because it was so good. And I'm normally not a short story reader, but Shauna Maguire, man, she can knock it out of the park with her short stories. So yeah, I loved it. Go check out that review. I don't know if it'll be posted yet, but when it is posted, I'll link it down below. So good reason to subscribe to my channel to see more videos. And then the last one was Survive the Night by Riley Sager. Now, I read this specifically for my Aurelium TBR, whereas you had to pick a book off of someone's worst of list that you may think you might like. I had been looking at this book for a while, wanting to read it, and I gotta agree with that. I didn't like it. It just, man, on the surface level, it was fun. It was interesting. It was kind of like, I mean, it's in the 90s before like cell phones and all that kind of stuff. So it definitely brought back some of that memories. Like I was in grade school in the 90s. I wasn't in college like the characters were. But I do remember going over to friends' houses and not having cell phones or whatever, you know. But so this book, let me tell you what it's about. It's about a girl who is trying to get back home to her family over Thanksgiving break. I think it's Thanksgiving break. And she is like, needs to leave like today. There is a serial killer on campus that has killed a couple girls. And her best friend was the last victim. And so she's just like, I can't be here anymore. She blames herself for what happened. And she's like, I just gotta get out. I gotta get out. So she posts this thing on a college rideshare board and meets a guy that just happens to be going in the same direction she's going. And so she decides to get in the car with him. Well, she realizes after she's in the car with him that he very well might be the serial killer because things are really weird. And he starts talking about things that only the killer would know and, well, that we believe only the killer would know. And at first, that's like that premise is like really cool, right? Like she has to survive the night. Like she has to get through the night without him killing her. And she has no way of calling for help. I mean, they literally don't have cell phones, right? There were so many opportunities for this girl to just leave. Just get out of the car, leave, go to the payphone, whatever. And she didn't do it every freaking time. Okay, I'm gonna get into spoilers here, or a little bit more spoilery topics. So the whole point of this story is just her literally surviving the night. It's like a 24-hour, or not a 24-hour, but it's like a 12-hour storyline that takes place, and she is becoming convinced that she's riding with a serial killer, but for reasons that are stupid, she decides to keep riding with him, not get out of the car. She has all these opportunities to like get away, and she doesn't, and it's just freaking annoying. And oh my gosh, the motivation behind the man in the car, kind of weird. There's this twist like halfway through the book that you realize that some people aren't who they say they are, and it's not that good. I don't know. I don't know how to talk about it without like spoiling it. So I'm gonna go into a little bit of spoilers here if you are interested in reading this book. Skip forward to the timestamp. So basically, she gets in the car with this dude, and he's like talking to her, like scaring her on purpose kind of thing. Oh, and she has this mental disorder where, I don't know if it'd be schizophrenia or what. Basically, she sees things in movies in her head. So she doesn't know like what's real and what's not real. And so he totally plays that up, makes her believe that she's hallucinating everything, that things that he said are not true, and whatever. And yet she sticks with him every time. And then she's like, well, I'm gonna get vengeance from my friend because blah. And then you find out they like go to this diner, and this old lady's there to like help her, and she is like giving her every opportunity to like get out and get help, and she's like, no, I'm fine, thank you, like I'm gonna ride it out and I'm gonna get vengeance, blah blah blah. So then she ends up like, they crash the car a little bit after this. She like stabs the dude and she gets away, and she runs back to the diner and she's like, help, help, help. The lady at the diner turns out to be working with this dude all along. She kidnaps the chick, and she's going to kill her because this actually is the grandma of the best friend that died. So she's like, you killed my daughter, or you caused my granddaughter to die. You know who the guy is because apparently she saw him, but she was like in one of those like memory movie states, and so she can't remember his face. And so the grandma is like, I will torture you until you will remember the face, and you will tell me who killed my daughter or my granddaughter. And so she takes her to like this old resort thing, and she starts torturing her. But the guy that actually had her, he's not the serial killer, he's just a bounty hunter, and he was hired by this grandma to bring the chick to her. But then it goes terribly wrong, and he gets stabbed and all that, so he has to like stitch himself back up, and he goes and realizes like, oh man, she has sinister thoughts for her. I was planning on, you know, just like I thought they were just talking, so I am not okay with her killing her. So then he goes and tries to save her, and the whole process, like, she is able to get a hold of her boyfriend, and she like sends him a code of like, hey, I'm in trouble. So he comes to find her and help her. And this is like a big spoiler. In the end, the boyfriend was the killer. All along, the boyfriend was the killer. What? It doesn't make any sense. The motivations didn't make any sense. The way that they freaking interacted didn't make sense. The girl ends up being saved by her kidnapper, basically, the guy, the rideshare guy. And then they get married at the end. Why would you get married to a man who literally, I mean, yeah, you went with him willingly, but then he really kind of like was keeping you from being able to get away, and he's like torturing you, and he's playing games with your mind. I mean, torturing mentally, playing games with your mind and all this other stuff. And yeah, all of a sudden, no, I'm in love with him. It's like crazy Stockholm syndrome. And then you find out at the very end, this whole thing is actually a movie of this girl's story. So it's like the book is, oh yeah, because then he saves her, and the grandma, like there's a fire that sets fire to the place, so the boyfriend gets killed and the grandma dies. But at the end, she told her the truth, and so they got vengeance, and the grandma died happy. Well, it turns out like, no, it didn't actually happen. Yeah, the boyfriend died, the grandma died, but not in that way, because that's like movie ending. So they're at this screening for this movie, and so at the very end, she's like, well, it wasn't in winter, and, you know, she died in the fire, and she didn't have a peaceful ending, blah, 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 but, you know, Hollywood, or whatever. And then she gets in the car with the guy, this is like 10 years later, the guy that kidnapped her, and they've been married for 10 years. There's so many problems with this. Not to mention the fact that, like, they were talking about how the grandma lady was, like, small and weak and frail, yet she was able to knock this girl out and cart her around and do all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, no, not realistic. There's so many things that are not realistic about this book. And not in a way that you can look over it because, you know, it's fiction. No, this isn't a fantasy. This is a thriller, and it wasn't even that good of one. And so I'm sorry, Riley Sager. I just, like, a lot of people are saying was really not that good. I gave it a 3-star. I think it just kind of was not very good. I don't really know how else to describe my thoughts, you guys. So yeah, that's it. So I'm gonna go ahead and send you back to the video, and we'll continue with the rest of the books I read this month. Yeah, that's my wrap up. Those are the books I read. Those are kind of my thoughts on the books. I had a pretty decent reading month. I think I probably forgot to tell you what all of the ratings were for everything. Maybe I did. I don't know. But if you want to check it out, you can go to my Goodreads. I always rate my books on Goodreads, what they are. So if you're curious, you can check me out there. You can find me on Instagram. Definitely check out my Instagram if you're wanting more like up-to-date information about me, because I post there a lot more than I post on here. So if you're kind of wondering what I'm up to, go check out my Instagram. Linked below is sweet.t.reads. Everything is my Goodreads, so you can see what I'm currently reading, that kind of stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, or just kind of, you know, enjoyed hanging out, being kind of casual, laid back, talking with me about books that I read in August. And like I said, I completed my draft TBR, which I'm super stoked about. This is the first time. I think I played it, August was round 3. So the first 2 I did not. The third one though, I completed it. So I was super happy about that. And I was very close to completing my Aurelium TBR. I just, like I said, I DNF'd a book, soft DNF'd a book, started another book, and didn't quite get to the third one. So I'm like, oh, so close though, so close. But yeah, overall, I would say this month was a win. I did fairly well. Read quite a few books, and I'm really excited for September. I got some good books coming, you guys. So thanks for hanging out with me. Sorry if my eyes are all watery all of a sudden. I just had a coughing fit. But thanks for hanging out. Subscribe if you would like to see more videos by me. Give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. and leave me, you know, any comments, any questions, any thoughts. Let me know if you've read any of these books, what you thought about these books, if you're interested in reading any of these books, or any of these books I talk about, you're like, oh yeah, I was interested, and now that I heard what you had to say about them, no longer interested. Like, I'd love to know your thoughts. Like, that's why I'm here, is to like chat with you all. So please leave your comments down below in the comments, and I would love to chat with you and kind of get to know you all better. And yeah, so that's it. This is my video. I really hope that you guys are having a good one, and I will hopefully see you in my next video. Bye guys.